Hello, thank you for listening to 3 Legacies Recovery Recordings. If you enjoy our program, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to share with a friend. We're also self-supporting, so feel free to contribute to the channel through Venmo at Recovery Recordings 615. Please note that the views expressed on this podcast are solely our individual views and do not represent any official stance of any 12-step program. We are not affiliated with any specific recovery organization, and this content should not be considered as professional advice for alcoholism or addiction.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to 3 Legacies Recovery Recordings podcast. I'm your host, Paul. Today is Wednesday, August 6th, 2025, and this is episode 54. And I want to thank everybody that's been sending all their love and all their support. We've been getting a lot of cool feedback from different people. You can reach us at recoveryrecordings615@yahoo.com. You can also find us. We have a private Facebook page, which is 3 Legacies Recovery Recordings Podcast, and you can get on there and send a request, and we'll add you to the page. You can also find us on Audible, Spotify, iHeartRadio, several other major platforms. And excited, we have a lot of cool stuff coming up this month. And let's see, this upcoming Sunday, we have Juanita Yu from Santa Fe, New Mexico. We've been doing a series. Juanita is a Al-Anon member. And we've been doing a series on applying the 12 traditions to our family lives. And she's been killing it on that. And this upcoming Sunday, let's see, is it August 10th, we're going to be doing traditions 5 and 6. That's the plan anyways. We'll see how it goes. Also, next week, we have Judy L. from Colorado, from Westminster, Colorado. She's been doing the same thing. We've been, me and her have been doing a traditions. We're calling it traditions in all our affairs, and that's going to be super cool. I think this is like the sixth episode that she's done with me, 5th or 6th. She's been really killing it too. And tonight, I'm super excited about tonight's guest. Tonight we have Jerry W. coming from Apex, North Carolina. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, Paul. Yeah. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you. I tell you, speaking of Juanita, her husband Tom is how I got introduced to you. Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Assuming you and Tom know each other.
Yeah, I've known Tom for a long time. I know Juanita. They're good people.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Some of my favorite people.
Yeah.
How's everything going for you in North Carolina?
All's well here in Apex. Yeah. Overpaid, man. Overpaid in every area of my life, and things are well. It sounds like you've been busy with podcasts and recording.
Yeah, man. It's been crazy. Yeah. We started this back in December, and we're already on. This is episode 54. Man, it's crazy.
Episode 54. That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
It's a great platform to get the message out and to serve people.
Yeah, man. I tell you, it's been cool because I shared this with you, I think, one of the last times we talked, but it's cool having some of my favorite people, I've listened to for years on here, and it's cool how every one of them have their own experience. They're allowed to have their own experience. Just because one says something that contradicts the other one doesn't mean either one of them are right or wrong. They just get to have their own, and that's the cool part about this has been really opening, really, just to see how everyone gets to have their own stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the great things about Alcoholics Anonymous is that, we kind of get to have our own experience.
Amen. Yeah. Thank God.
We may have little different things we do, but it all kind of leads to the same place.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. Hopefully a relationship with God and the willingness to want to serve somebody else.
Wow. It's good stuff. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, first off, what's your sobriety date?
Yeah. I got sober. My sobriety date is July the 2nd, 1989.
Nice.
Yep.
How many years is that?
That would be 36.
36 years. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I got sober when I was 4.
When you were 4. That's funny.
That was a joke, Paul. You got quiet on me.
No,
Man.
so I was writing. Yeah. That's funny. That's funny.
I got sober in 1989. I was 22 years old,
That's
and didn't know I was alcoholic.
Mm.
I'd never heard anything about alcoholism or didn't know anything about Alcoholics Anonymous. I mean, it's probably unusual for somebody to nowadays to not have heard of AA, but I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And tried lots of ways to get my life in order and to quit drinking through church and different spiritual stuff and psychiatry and pills and people trying to keep me on 24-hour watch, and had a bunch of deputy sheriffs tried to help me, and Air Force tried to help me.
Wow.
And I couldn't. I just never could stay sober more than a few days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
Had that mental obsession and didn't realize I was powerless over the first drink, and attempted suicide a few times, died a couple times, and basically had given up hope on living. And was one morning was walking down the road to write another bad check, and didn't have any plans to get sober that day, and something happened to me. I had this kind of a moment of clarity that I just turned 22 and my life shouldn't be ending, it should be starting. And like, I had these voices come on in my head saying, man, you need to do something. I didn't know what was wrong with me. And I knew I drank a lot and did a lot of cocaine and hurt people. And said two things out loud. Said, God, there's got to be something. I said, there's got to be something better than this. And I said, God, please help me. And been sober ever since.
Wow. So
no, it didn't quite. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
It didn't quite happen, that quick. But after I said that prayer, which I said that prayer many times before that, but something was different. I was surrendered. I don't know that I had anything to do with it. It just kind of happened, and I ended up, in a detox that morning, and didn't know what that was. It looked like a fancy jail to me, but I was sitting in there on suicide watch, and a guy came in and started talking to me, and he was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And the conversation was very different than any other conversation I'd ever had with anyone that tried to help me. He didn't ask me a lot of questions or tell me what he thought was wrong with me or try to, intervene or anything like that. He just talked about himself. I know now it was a classic 12-step call where he talked about himself and how he drank and things that he had done. And while he was talking, I'm thinking, man, this guy, why is he telling me this stuff? I had done most of what he was saying to me, but I damn sure wasn't going to tell anybody about it. You know what I mean? And he's like openly telling me this stuff. And what happened was I identified with what he was saying.
Wow.
And, in AA, we call it the language of the heart. And I didn't fully understand what was wrong with me, but by him sharing his experience, I was able to identify and, get a little hope from him and a little kind of willingness to try something different.
Nice.
Yeah. And not long after I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous and started doing the deal. And I didn't realize any of this stuff was optional. I thought it was the end of the road for me.
22, huh? 22 years old.
Yeah.
You say? Wow.
Yeah. And started doing Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm grateful for that guy that came in there. I often wonder, if he hadn't showed up, or if somebody different showed up, what would have happened to me?
Wow.
Looking back on it, I'm sure obviously it happened exactly how it was supposed to, but
Yeah.
man, I'm grateful that guy didn't wake up. This was a Sunday morning. It was early. And I'm glad he didn't wake up and decide to go to the soccer game or to the ballpark or fishing or to yoga.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, he was fulfilling his he was fulfilling his responsibility to the 12th step in our fifth tradition, trying
Wow.
to carry the message to another alcoholic.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that's powerful. I tell you, and for the listeners also, next, speaking of service, next week I forgot to mention this, but next week we're going to be doing, the next episode is going to be next Wednesday, August 13th, and we're going to do the 3 legacies, and we're going to be talking about unity, service, and recovery. Man, that's powerful. So what about this guy, the guy that came in there and bringing the message? Is this somebody that you stayed in contact with when you started going to meetings and stuff?
I did. The detox was not in the town that I lived in. So when I ultimately got out of there and started going to meetings, it was a little ways from where he was at. But yeah, he's still sober today, and I know him.
Wow, nice.
See him periodically, talk to him every once in a while.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so he's now sober over 40 years.
Wow. Okay, so he's been down. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So how about this? And this is all in North Carolina, correct? Is it Apex?
That's right. Yeah, that was in Raleigh.
Okay, Raleigh. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like what was next. You got out of treatment, started going to meetings, found you a sponsor. You know, tonight's for the listeners, tonight's episode is on sponsorship.
Yeah.
Yeah. How'd that go about?
Yeah. So I got out of that detox. Matter of fact, I got kicked out of the detox. Back then it was the treatment centers were at that point were like paying big money for like treatment and detox. I guess they still do now, but they've kind of gotten away from that. But anyway, I lied to get in there. I told them I had insurance, and I actually wrote them a bad check for $500 to get in.
Wow.
And they call that going to any links. And they found out about it, and I had to go. But anyway, I went to a treatment center for a little while, and it was kind of unique in that it was very small, and they only had, I want to say it was less than 30 like clients.
Wow.
And I know this was not Alcoholics Anonymous, but it was run by AA members, and you had to be like an AA member to work there. And basically, all they did was they basically did an extended big book study with you. I mean, it was, yeah. And I'm grateful for that. As a matter of fact, I don't talk about this much like in AA meetings, but the first guy I took the steps with was a guy named Dennis N, and he was from Charlotte, and he never was actually my sponsor per se, but he helped me take the steps out of the big book. And I mean, I was extremely grateful for that, and I was one of those. I mean, I went at the steps pretty quickly. Now I was scared and hesitant, and wasn't sure it was going to work for me. And early on was afraid of the 4th step, and later would become afraid of the 8th and 9th step. Now I did them, but I was scared. And but he helped me get a foundation in the steps in terms of just turning my life over to God and writing that 4th step out and getting at some resentments and some fears and some crazy conduct. And I shared that, and I had an 8-step list. And and I'm sober about 5 weeks. And I've gone through the first 8 steps, and I mean, I was young and naive, but I had an experience after I did that 5th step at about 5 weeks sober where
wow,
I don't know, it was just as goofy as I was and as kind of just out of touch as I was, I had this experience where, I mean, I saw for the first time how irresponsible I was, and I took responsibility for my own actions really for the first time. And just had this like clarity that my life was my responsibility.
Yeah.
It wasn't anybody else's responsibility. And my drinking and everything that ever happened to me in my life, I mean, I blamed it on somebody else. It was always somebody else's fault.
Sure. Yeah.
And I'd been given a bad hand at life. And man, if you were raised by my parents, you'd be like me. And if, you know, if you lived with that crazy wife, you would do some of the same things I did, on and on and on. And I saw the truth. You know, when I did that fourth and fifth step and shared that with a guy. And what would happen after that is, I mean, I joined Alcoholics Anonymous, and it was instilled in me to get a home group and to get a sponsor.
Nice.
And I mean, I look back on that, and I know this probably sounds funny, but I didn't think that was an option. I thought I had to actually do that to like be in AA.
Nice. That's a benefit. Yeah.
It is a benefit. I'm glad I didn't know anything different at the time. And I'm extremely grateful for the group and the people that I like had first contact with, I guess. Amen. I mean, because they were all about service. They were all about unity. They were all about helping one another, and they were less into the feelings and feel good stuff. I mean, they were all about the business of staying sober, and more importantly, helping other people and like carrying that message out.
Tradition 5, yeah.
And that's kind of how I grew up, and the foundation that I got. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. Now I tell you this, I knew I had to get a sponsor, but I was thinking about this earlier. When I was like looking for a sponsor or trying to figure out who I was going to ask, man, I was scared to death. I felt like I was back in like grade school, and I was going to ask a girl to go with me.
Yeah.
It was just,
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first guy asked to be my sponsor. So I've had 3 sponsors since I've been sober.
Okay.
And the first guy asked to be my sponsor. I asked him because he seemed to be happy. He was grateful. He was always positive, and he had worked the steps. And I asked him to sponsor me, and he did a few things for me. Obviously, every sponsor I've had has helped me take the steps, or has helped me, try to live those steps. And that first guy really helped me with some of the amends in terms of, how to make some of those amends to my family.
Yeah.
The importance of, on those financial amends, of making arrangements with people and not like hiding, and, that you got to take responsibility for your actions. And even to the point where I made arrangements with financial, people, with organizations and places where I owed money, and I didn't have the money to pay them, but I called and wrote and made arrangements and started paying back where I could. And, sponsor helped me with that tremendously. Now, one thing he told me to do that I wasn't real happy about was I had some outstanding warrants for me out at the courthouse. Typically, Paul, if somebody has a warrant out for you, it's up to them to come get you. Right? They got to find you. Well, they were telling me, man, you got to go down there and turn yourself in. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That sounded a little harsh, but
yeah,
I did it. I went and turned myself in, and you know what? It worked out fine. And but early on, I mean, if anybody's listening, that's newcomer. I mean, early on, really, a huge benefit of having a sponsor for me was, I mean, he was like my real first connection to the program and to the fellowship.
Yeah.
And helped me get connected to a group, helped me get connected to other people, emphasize the importance of getting to the meeting early if I could, and just helping to sit up, make coffee.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I was taught to do it really scared me early on was that, I was taught to try to go up and talk to everybody at the meeting and greet people and introduce yourself, trying to just break through that self-consciousness and all that fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, was taught the importance of helping to clean up afterwards. And if people are going out to eat or going out for coffee or whatever, try to participate in that, even though I was scared to death.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that sponsor early on helped me do all that.
Yeah.
And I think those are some, just vital things to form a good foundation.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my first real kind of, I guess, cool memory of like utilizing a sponsor, like actually calling a sponsor and saying, "Hey, I need help with this," was, so I had gotten sober, and I'm sober a few months, and I got a job, and long story short, one of the guys that I work with accused me of flirting or saying something to his girlfriend, who happened to work in the same building. And I didn't say anything to her. I could have, but I didn't. And so he accused me of this in front of a couple of other coworkers, and he got pretty belligerent with me. And so anyway, I didn't want to say anything to him, but what happened to me was I was scared of what these other two guys are going to think if I didn't say something to him.
Yeah.
And so I went off on the guy in front of everybody and started cussing at him and started saying a few names to him. And that led to, we were going to meet. Now, this sounds crazy, but we were going to meet before work the next morning in the back parking lot, and fight. So I'm like, now I'm scared to death, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not feeling good. So I got home and I called my sponsor. I called him up and I told him what happened. And he's like, I'll never forget this. His first words were, "Hey, we got a step for that." I'm like, I'm thinking in my mind, what are you talking about? He's like, "Jerry, you got to call that guy, making amends to him tonight. You can't hold on to that." And I'm thinking, now in my mind, once I, painted this scenario to him, I'm thinking he's going to agree with me. Yeah, man, you had every right to say that to that guy. Matter of fact, I'll show up with you tomorrow morning and help you get him.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, I get it.
But he's like, "No, you got a 10th step, man. You can't hold on that. You need to clean that up. You were at fault."
Wow.
And I was like, my God. And I called, and as before everybody had cell phones, I actually called my boss and got the guy's phone number.
Wow.
And called him that night and made an amends for what I had said and done. And of course he accepted it, and he apologized for accusing me and of saying some of the stuff he did, and it worked out fine.
Yeah.
But that's a golden sponsorship moment right there when I look back on that.
Wow.
Because my MO back then, I'm 22, barely sober, barely street legal. All I know how to do is either fight or run and hide.
Yeah.
And man, a sponsor helped me to see that there's other ways to do things. There's ways to interact with people, and there's ways to deal with things.
Amen. Yeah.
Without violence or without, having to run and act like nothing happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because, like for me, it seems like for the relationship I had with my first sponsor, man, was, I mean, unbelievable. I absolutely, this man saved my life, right? Like the relationship I had with him saved my life, right? And it's funny because there's a quality, like there's a connection, for me in ways, and I see this quite often, especially with certain guys that I sponsor. But there's a quality there that's like no other. Meaning, like my sponsor could say something, even my current sponsor right now. Like I can talk to him about something, and like I just listen to him. I trust the guy, right? And
Yep.
it's funny because it's something he could give me a suggestion that if any other person on the face of this planet give me the suggestion, I may not even hear it. You get what I mean?
Yep.
And he tells me, and I'm like, okay, I trust this, right? And that was the
Yep.
quality I had with my first sponsor, man. It was cool because I had no clue what a freaking spiritual principle was, like never in my life anybody ever talked to me about a spiritual principle. If they did, I don't remember, but like that, just the relationship I had with this man alone pointed me towards spiritual principles, right? And luckily, I had enough experiences like what you're talking about, where like, I got to see what happens when I don't take a suggestion, and then what happens when I do, right?
That's right.
And it feels better. It always ends up better when I take a suggestion, right? And those right there were like pivotal points in my recovery, Yeah. How you feel about that? Like,
well, it's always amazed me personally that, I mean, prior to coming to AA, I was like a lot of other alcoholics that I've talked to. I didn't trust anybody. I wouldn't take direction from anybody. I didn't listen to anyone.
Yeah.
And I despised authority, and I despised anyone trying to tell me what to do. And I got in a lot of trouble and had a lot of resistance in my life because of that.
Yeah.
And I was somewhat kind of raised that way by my parents, to be skeptical and to be careful and who you trust and don't believe anything that you hear or see. And like when I got sober and joined Alcoholics Anonymous, whatever that is, it kind of left when it came to Alcoholics Anonymous and when it came to certain people in AA.
Wow, great.
I like just, I mean, I guess it's because they speak our language, but I like immediately trusted some people in AA.
Wow.
And like you said, I like my sponsor and all three sponsors that I've had, I've been willing to listen to them with an open mind and open heart differently than I have anyone else. And I guess you could say it's like it's a spiritual relationship.
Yeah.
And it's on a personal level and a private level. That's like between, me and that person. And for some reason, I'm willing to take the direction from somebody other than myself.
Nice.
And it's kind of strange because I'm still a little skeptical of a lot of people and won't listen to many people. Right.
Amen. Yeah.
But but when it comes to sponsor, I don't know. That kind of disappears, and I, early on, I was a guy that I would sit in meetings, and if somebody called on me or if it was like my turn to share, I mean, for a long time, I just passed. It wasn't because I didn't have anything to share.
Yeah.
I had a lot to share, but I was afraid to.
Sure.
And then the meeting would be over, and I'd get with my sponsor, and I would, tell them all this stuff that I wanted to share, and they were like, "Well, you should have spoke up in the meeting, but that's okay. You'll speak up when you can." But it was important to me to be able to talk to that sponsor after the meeting about what happened during the meeting or about what my thoughts were on it, and they just sat there and listened. They just sat there and listened and tried to support me.
Amen. It's interesting that you're saying that, because there was one time me and my sponsor, when I first got sober, I was probably a year sober or something at the time, and we were sitting on the front porch at the recovery house I was living at, and And we were sitting there, and this guy had walked up, and clearly the guy, I don't even know that he was sober, right? But he was just out in left field talking, right? And we sat there and talked to this guy for like 25 or 30 minutes, right? And I'm sitting there, you know, self-centered as can be, sitting there like, when is this guy going to hush, right? You know? And my sponsor's like 10 years sober at the time, right? And then whenever this guy left, he looked at me and he was like, man, I'm just so grateful someone listened to me. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I get that now, you know, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like what you're saying with this guy, you know, the guy that showed up at the treatment center, right? It's like, you know, thank God for situations like that, right? Thank God my sponsor was willing to share his life, was willing to share his life with me, you know, share his experiences with me. That's changed my life, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's talk about, so how about, so you had mentioned that you'd got out of treatment and you started working the steps with this guy. So what about like, so you said he wasn't your sponsor. How long was it before you got you a sponsor? And then how often do you work the steps with a sponsor? Is that something you do pretty often or what?
Yeah. So, I got, Dan was my first sponsor. I worked the steps with Dennis. I got Dan to sponsor me. I was about 6-7 weeks sober.
Okay.
When I got Dan to sponsor me.
Yeah. And you're about to be on step 8. Step 8.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. And he helped me. You know, he helped me with that, and obviously he helped me with step 10. You heard the story on that one there. And he really helped me get connected to, you know, to the fellowship and to the program, and just, you know, to the importance of meetings and staying current and staying connected. And he was I would come to find out he was very busy with his business and with other stuff. And I switched sponsors, which is another good thing about Alcoholics Anonymous, is that, you know, we get to pick who we follow, and we get to pick our leaders.
Yeah.
You can't do that everywhere.
Yeah.
And I got another sponsor after about, I don't know, I was only sober probably 4 or 5 months. Mm-hmm. And a guy named Steve was my second sponsor, and he helped me really see the importance of helping people. Mm. And no matter what's going on with me, and no matter how bad life seems or whatever it is, I mean, it was always, the conversation always ended with, go help somebody, go find somebody to help.
That's
right.
Awesome.
And
yeah,
I remember, and, you know, at this time, my first wife hadn't come back, and I was like devastated about it. And I had seen her messing around on me a little bit, and was all just full of self-pity and anger and bitterness. And I would call him and I'd whine about stuff, and he would say, I'll never forget this one thing. He says, you're one of the few young people that have a car, and why don't you go pick up those guys at the halfway house and take them to a meeting?
Yeah.
And you know what? That doesn't look like a solution.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sitting here, my wife, so, you know, I suspect she's messing around on me, and she ain't coming back, and I need more money, and I need this, and I need that. And he's like, yeah, go pick those guys up. And inevitably, every time I'd go pick somebody up, take them to a meeting, listen to them talk on the way home. And by the time I had taken them back to that halfway house and dropped them off, I was glad to have my problems.
Yeah, amen, dude. It's funny. I feel like me and you had the same sponsor.
Yeah. And so I guess to answer your question, as far as, you know, taking the steps, I mean, I've done all kinds of things over the years, all with step work, and I mean, I've written, you know, more inventories and spot check inventories, and I go to a retreat once a year where we kind of go through the steps again, and I stay pretty current with my sponsor today.
Nice.
And you know, people can call it what they want to call it. Going back through the steps, you can call it 10, 11, and 12. Call it maintenance. Call it growth. I don't. You know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, I try to live the steps today.
Yeah.
And I think at some point that this is probably not exactly right. And I don't want people to think it. I don't want to take it the wrong way, but the numbers kind of fall off the steps at some point, and you kind of live them.
Amen.
You know, and you kind of, and again, I guess maybe that is 10, 11, and 12. But yeah, you just kind of live them as a way of life. And
yeah.
I will say this. I mean, I sponsor a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And when I'm helping them take the steps, and I'm reading that book to them, and I'm helping them, you know, take the steps out of the book Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm taking the steps as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not just a kind of a mechanical exercise for me when I'm helping somebody else. When I'm helping them take those steps, I'm asking myself those same questions at that time. Like, hey, what does this mean to me?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've had more profound experiences with that a lot of times, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's my experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and that's where it's at, man. It's helping other people and helping other people to have that same, you know, experience that we've had.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about, let's talk about your current, like your sponsorship. Do you currently sponsor like new guys? And I talk to people all the time that say that you know, I currently, or me personally, actually, is I always try to have at least one or two new guys, and then several guys with some years, you know, that I've sponsored for a while. But I always try to have at least some new guy that I'm taking through the big book, right?
Yeah.
What's your experience with that? Yeah,
it's hard to. Well, I get people asking all the time. They're like, this probably sounds arrogant, but I'll say it anyway. They'll ask you like, hey, how many people do you sponsor?
Yeah.
And I get that a lot.
Yeah.
And my answer is always one too few.
Yeah. My grand sponsor answers that. He says about half of them.
About half of them. That's right. Yeah. That's the honest answer there, right? About half of them.
Yeah.
But I'm so at my home group. I feel like that's what my job is. When I go to my group,
mm-hmm. I'm
not there to get anything, or I'm not there because I need a meeting, or I'm not there to, you know, to hopefully get some inspiration. I mean, all that might happen, but I'm not there to like share my problems. I mean, I go to my home group to try to find somebody to help.
Amen. Yeah.
And so, I mean, every Tuesday and Thursday when I'm at my group, I'm trying to find somebody to help, and I go to a prison meeting once a week, and I'm there to try to find somebody to help. So I've always got a couple of new guys.
Nice.
And I don't put a number on it. I'll help as many as I can.
Sure.
But I'm always going through the steps with somebody at any given time.
Yeah.
Meeting with a guy tomorrow.
Nice. Good stuff.
Start getting in the steps.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. So
let me ask you this. There's always a question that when I go to the treatment centers pretty often, and there's always a similar question almost every week, and they say, what should I look for when when I'm trying to find a sponsor? How would you answer that question?
Well, I would look for somebody that is active,
mm-hmm.
meaning they've got a home group, or they're active in going to meetings, and that they have a sponsor, and it should be someone that's had the experience of the steps and is willing to help out.
Yeah.
You know, and it's always an interesting question, because the reality is, how's a new person going to know any of that?
Amen.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. I mean, it's like, So that's why I mean, like at my group, if I get a new person, or even if I meet somebody in the treatment center, the detox, and they ask that question, I won't hesitate to like say, well, give me a call when you get out, or let me know how we can connect when you get out, and I'll help you with that, or I'll connect you to somebody that can help you.
Yeah. Amen. Same here.
And I think our responsibility in trying to help people, find a sponsor or get connected, it's probably a lot more than, just throwing a pamphlet at somebody or giving them a meeting directory.
For sure.
Or giving them some questions that they don't even know how to answer.
Yeah.
But I would think that, typically you'd want somebody that has taken the steps and is willing to help out and has a foundation and just some in simple structured AA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. I'm in the same boat.
I know so I was sober a little less than 2 years, and I moved. And the move was, I mean, looking back on it now, I mean, it was only about an hour and a half from where I lived, but communication wasn't quite what it is today. And it was a big deal to me to move away from my group and my sponsor. And
what do you mean communication wasn't quite? What do you mean?
Well, people didn't have cell phones and they didn't text every day, and you couldn't easily get somebody on the phone.
Yeah.
There wasn't any email or computers. And so, if you saw your sponsor at a meeting, or you would call when you got off work and leave a message on the answering machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they'd call you back late at night.
Nice.
So anyway, it was suggested that I get a new sponsor in this town that I moved into, and this kind of ties into what you look for when you're trying to get a sponsor. And I mean, I was used to a certain thing, and I started going to meetings in this new town that I moved to, and I was struggling. I was kind of used to more of a structured meeting, and the meetings were a little more loose and casual and kind of, anybody got a problem today type thing. And somebody would, talk about buying a used car, and then you'd have, 30 used car salesmen experts telling that person what to do. And, and I struggled a little bit. I was trying to find somebody to help me. And, I was sitting in the meeting one night, and I didn't really know anybody in the meeting, but this guy started talking. They called on him, and he started talking about the topic, and he mentioned God, and he mentioned steps, and he mentioned, a guy coming to help him, and that he was there trying to help somebody else. And that's what I listen for in people. And that's probably what a new person should listen for. I mean, it was obvious the guy had taken the steps. It was obvious that he had formed a relationship with a power greater than himself. And he was now endeavoring to try to help somebody else.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. And I talked to that guy after the meeting, and he's been sponsoring me now for 34 years.
Nice. Wow. Very cool. Yeah.
So that's
great. Go ahead.
Yeah. I've had the same sponsor now for 34 years. And,
wow.
That relationship it's probably gone way beyond what a traditional sponsor-sponsee relationship would look like. I mean, he's, I trust the guy. I've got respect for him. I mean, he knows all my family. He was a co-best man when I got remarried sober. And,
nice.
It's a guy that I trust, and I've given him permission to basically step into my life at any time and ask questions or challenge me.
Yeah.
And many, many times throughout the years, I think this is what sponsors do. I mean, he no matter what my problem is or what I go to him with, a lot of times stuff in my mind is like, it's just impossible. I'm never going to be able to get through this, or this is the worst problem I've created. And every time, my sponsor, he's helped me find spiritual solutions.
Amen. Yeah.
And what seemed to be just impossible, situations. And it's almost like sponsors aren't gods, but many times they step in part-time until God shows up.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Yeah.
You
Give you a
know,
little
and
hope.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a valuable, relationship. And when I'm sponsoring other guys, I mean, you know, I think what my job is early on is to help them with the steps, and to try to connect them to AA, and to try to connect them, maybe fill in part time until they form that relationship with a higher power.
Amen. Yeah. Yeah.
And give them good direction. And I think it's important for me to remember I'm not anybody's dad or their brother, the relationship may turn into like a brother relationship, but I'm not their dad or the counselor or their attorney.
Yeah.
I'm just another recovered alcoholic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my job is to help you, find your path to recover.
Yeah. I love that.
Through the 12 steps.
Hey man, it gets you in touch with the power, right? And it's cool. I love how you touched on earlier how your sponsor would always suggest you to go help somebody, which like I said, it sounds like we had the same sponsor, right? And it's funny because I do the same thing with my guys. But like when we come in, we're full of fear, like what you're saying. We don't want to share. We're so self-conscious. We're scared to talk to people. We're scared of reaching out. It's just a bundle of freaking emotions, and we don't know what to do with them. Right, our knee-jerk reaction to life isn't, "Hey, why don't you go set up the chairs and go have a conversation with someone?" Right?
That's right.
But it's so important, right? It's so important.
Yeah.
My first grand sponsor used to always say, he said, you don't do anything for 20, 30 plus years if you don't fall in love with it, right?
Yep.
And like in my experience is that if I don't get if I don't get active and start becoming a part of and getting involved and stay that way, I don't fall in love with this thing. Right.
That's right.
Yeah. That was so big, but that wasn't, no one thinks about how like, okay, clearly what's going on is I don't trust in a power greater myself and I need to do that. But my sponsor was that role for quite a while because I honestly didn't believe that God cared about me. I had a whole book of reasons on how God just didn't care about me, and if there was a God, he clearly didn't care about me. But it was someone where like I started picking up and calling the guy and like talking to him, picking the phone up, calling the guy and talking to him, picking the phone up, calling the guy and talking to him. And I started seeing how like, man, these people they tricked me. I'm turning my will and my life over to something,
That's right.
like it's already happening, and luckily when I was doing that, it's like what you said, give me a little hope. He'd share his experience with me, and I could relate to the guy and I just started trusting the guy. Right. And luckily, just our relationship alone pointed us both in a certain direction, Yep. And it was about learning how to, apply spiritual principles. And, I started getting enough evidence in my life that there's something out there that's right here with me, actually, that cares so much about me. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was vital for I would have stepped over every one of my blessings had I not had a sponsor that I was talking to on a regular basis. Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was key. Yeah. I love that. I could relate to so much what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good stuff. And we'll be talking next week about unity service and recovery. I've found my last sponsor, my current sponsor too, but my last sponsor was a huge general service guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up getting me into general service. I've been the treatment chair for my district over the last couple of years, coming up on 2 years, and man, it's changed my life, man. I go out there every week, and I've been doing it for almost a little over 2 years actually, and Man, it's just changed so much. I always remind myself, there's always a handful of questions that I ask when I go out there. And one of them is, who in here has never attempted a 12-step program in their entire life? You know, and there's always like 20-something guys raise their hand. And it's like, wow. I remember the day where like I was thoroughly convinced, you know, and you couldn't, there was no other way I was going to believe anything other than the fact that I was going to die the way I'd been living, you know? And man, you know, having the experience that I have today with sponsorship and how vital that was, that role was in my life. And, you know, just like what you said, someone came in there and just, you know, was willing to share their experience, and it just changed your life, right?
Yeah.
That's huge. So big.
It is huge.
Yeah. I love how you said, thank God he wasn't at the soccer game or he wasn't, you know, man. I made the comment this week when I was in the treatment center. I said, you know, I said, you know, I do, every now and then I'll miss a week from time to time because I got a different commitment, right? And I always make sure it's filled, you know, through someone else. But I was like, I hope I never get to a space where I'm not here because I don't want to be. You know, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be here sometimes, right?
Sure.
But like, hopefully I never get to a space where I allow that feeling to dictate that action, you know? And luckily I'd had good sponsors over the years and people, good direction over the years where people talked to me about how vital it was to just what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got anything else you want
It's
to
our
share
responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we've taken the steps and we've had the experience of that spiritual awakening and we've recovered, then, I mean, it's the 12-step demands that we basically carry that message to other alcoholics. And I mean, I've always considered that, well, it's a privilege, but more than that, it's a responsibility and an obligation to the people that carry it to us, and to make sure that the Alcoholics Anonymous is around and stays alive for others. And for us to just kind of, you know, get ours and go home and not share that with anyone, we're basically, it's selfish. Is what that is.
You're right.
It's very selfish to hold on to this gift to ourselves.
Amen, dude.
And, you know, so that's why, I mean, I'd argue that somebody that's not doing that, I mean, they're not doing Alcoholics Anonymous.
Amen. And I'll be honest with you, I'd even go a little bit further and say that I don't even know that it would be possible to get a taste of God from where I came from and not want to share it with people.
That's right.
You get what I mean? Like, I don't think it would be humanly possible for me to have the experience that I had and not want. Don't get me wrong. I could see how, like, you know, there's resentment or whatever it could take me out of the game, you know, and if I wasn't, you know, working the steps. But like at the end of the day, like, man, I had some such amazing experiences with this. I have to share it with people.
You got to.
Yeah.
You got to. Keep in mind that it's always amazed me. Bill Wilson stayed sober for 6 months. Just by helping people. Yeah. He didn't have 90 and 90 to go to, or he couldn't text his sponsor whenever he wanted to, or he didn't have any of the things that we have today. And he stayed sober just on the actions of trying to help another alcoholic.
That's true. Wow.
And we need to, you know, you can't read our book, Alcoholics Anonymous, and you can't read any more than a page or two without it not talking about helping somebody.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the importance of carrying the message. And, you know, you'll hear people say that, well, the big book doesn't mention sponsorship. Well, the whole book's about sponsorship.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a whole chapter called Working with Others.
Yeah.
That gives us very good guidelines and experience on how to help another alcoholic.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been good, man.
And it's not outdated.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, it's awesome. Thank God.
So thank God for sponsorship.
Yeah, thank God, man.
Yeah.
Well, this is great, man. I really appreciate it. I think this is the end of the hour. We'll wrap it up. And for the listeners, we're going to be getting into the 3 legacies of Alcoholics Anonymous next week. It's next Wednesday, August 13th. And we'll be talking about service, which we've already touched on a little bit. I'm interested in seeing, being a North Carolina guy, seeing if you have any Don Pritz and Tom I stories.
Well, I do. Let's remember that next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm sure
I got some good ones for you.
Both of those guys in general service. Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. They were great men.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I appreciate it. And
you're welcome.
Man, this has been awesome. It's been cool getting to know you a little, and I appreciate you. And I will talk to you next week, buddy.
All right, Paul. Thank you.
Have a wonderful night.
All right. You too. Bye.
Bye.
Hello. Thank you for listening to 3 Legacies Recovery Recordings. If you enjoy our program, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to share with a friend. We're also self-supporting, so feel free to contribute to the channel through Venmo at Recovery Recordings 615. Please note that the views expressed on this podcast are solely our individual views and do not represent any official stance of any 12-step program. We are not affiliated with any specific recovery organization, and this content should not be considered as professional advice for alcoholism or addiction.